A slight change of scene. How you doing, everyone? Freckle Puny is there. We've got Miltsy, 1987. Amen. Great result last night. And we're going to get into this because it's actually probably the best result that we could hope for. And you might think that's a bit weird, me saying that, because obviously Labour lost Uxbridge. But that might, in the long term, be a good thing, and I'll explain why. So first of all, let's get into it. The Tories last night were decimated in Somertown and Frome. Frome. They were roundly defeated by the Lib Dems, like absolutely massively had their bottoms whopped by the Lib Dems, overturning a massive majority. And then in Salisbury and Ainsty, the same thing happened in Yorkshire. The Labour candidate managed to overturn a 20,000 vote majority. That is just unheard of. A 24% swing to Labour from the Conservatives, and they would have got away with it too if it wasn't for you pesky Hughes in Uxbridge. But here's why I think that's a good thing. Right, I'm old enough to remember, because I'm proper old. I'm way old. I can remember 1992, and I can remember I was 13 years old at the time, and I can remember Labour dancing around a conference pretending that they had won the election before the actual election. The election came along, and all of the seats that the Tories had lost up to that point in by-elections, they won back. I mean, I had another 5 years of sleazy, corrupt Tory government, and not great at all. Don't want that. So what I'm hoping is, because they lost Uxbridge by a very narrow margin, a couple of things here. First of all, no complacency, but secondly, they're going to have to listen to people a bit more, because there is a strong argument. Look, I not living in London and being incredibly jealous of the London transport system, I have mixed feelings on ULEZ. I think, yes, they do need to stop cars and trucks and things driving around the city, because it is destroying the quality of the air for the children who live there, and also the planet for the people who live on the planet. So any kind of move away from that is to be welcomed. The problem is, it is like speeding fines, like parking fines, it's a punitive tariff, because if you are rich, you can afford the 50 grand for an electric car. You don't have to pay anything at all. If you're not rich and you can only afford a 15-year-old banger, you're going to have to pay the ULEZ every time you want to drive down the street to, I don't know, see your neighbours, or bring a cake, or take your kids to school, which is a big issue. I understand in London. So that's why Labour lost in Uxbridge. However, they only lost by 500, and there were a bunch of joke candidates in there. There was Count Binface, joke candidate. There was Lawrence Fox, joke candidate. There was Piers Corbyn, joke candidate. Lee Corn, I blame Lenny Henry for the 1992 election. Just want to tell you, your message will come up on my phone. If you want me to definitely read your message, throw in a super chat for like £1 or £2 or something, and I'll definitely read your message. Do you think Labour is going to win the next election? Asked Jill. Well, I don't want to jinx it, but yes. Okay, so what I think is going to happen, I mean, we saw this. People were saying, the Labour and Lib Dems need to do a coalition, needs to do a pact. They can't, right? There's a couple of reasons why they can't do it. First of all, if they team up and are seen as teaming up by the parliamentary, what is it called? The Elections Commission, they could have their funding cut by half, because you're allowed 19.5 million or whatever it is to be spent in the year leading up to a general election. And if they even unofficially team up, they could be on the hook for that. So, for instance, Reclaim, that's Loser Fox's party, and Refruc, the Richard Tice party, are planning to team up in the next election. And in that case, it will mean that the amount that they can spend will be reduced. But then again, they're very, very, very small parties. Loser Fox lost his deposit last night. You've got to get 5% of the vote in order to get your deposit back. I think he got about 2.7%. With all that money, all that backing, no one wants him. I think the Greens actually did better than them, actually. The Labour wins were mere nothing special. There was only one Labour win for starters, and it overturned a 20,000 majority. It was a 24% swing. I think either the biggest or the second biggest swing from the Tories to Labour in history. So yeah, it's not mere. It's the David's asking, okay, so just to explain for people who aren't up on our by-election things, like there were 3 elections. They were all Tory seats. One of them was down in Somerset, and that was won by the Lib Dems decisively. The Labour vote there went down because people voted for Lib Dem. I was going to come on to this. Labour didn't put up much of a fight there because they understood that, let the Lib Dems have this one. We will take Salisbury up in Yorkshire, and we'll try and take Uxbridge in London, which they came very close to doing. So, 3 seats. Thank you very much, Gary Arnold. Labour will win GE. Fingers crossed. By the looks of things, they will. But there's a couple of things that we need to sort of get into before we say yes, this is definitely going to happen. 3 elections, all Tory seats that was stood down by Tories. One of them was Boris Johnson's old seat. One of them was I've forgotten his name. That no mark who stood down when Boris Johnson stood down, and then there was it the MP who had cocaine on his tray or something? Oh my god! And there's more by-elections coming up. The lingering MP, as she's known now, Nadine Dorries. Her seat might be up for grabs very soon, or whenever she immediately retires from being an MP. Or resigns from being an MP. She said she was going to do it immediately, and that was over 6 weeks ago, so whatever. Anyway, 3 elections. Labour won one, the Lib Dems won the other, Labour almost won the third in Uxbridge. So that's what happened last night. And it was good. It was really satisfying. And like I say, I don't want Labour to get complacent. I do want them to feel like they have to fight for this, they have to fight for every vote, because they do. They really, really do. Will Madnad still resign? I don't know, John. I don't know. In Uxbridge, sorry, I'm going to touch my phone. In Uxbridge, Johnson cultism played a part in Tory retaining their seat. Well, yeah, probably a little bit, but it is just a bit painful, isn't it? I did some quick math yesterday. That 1.9 billion handed back to the Treasury could have been split between all the constituencies for a grand total of 2.9 million each. Yeah. Mm. And that was all constituencies, not just the ones that needed levelling up. But, they couldn't think of what to spend the money on. Stephanie says, I think Labour missed a trick in Uxbridge. They should have pushed that the choice was their children's health or driving less. Never heard of the walking bus to get your children to school. That's from Stephanie. I think there's a couple of problems, though, with the setup at the moment in the UK. One of my particular bugbears, and obviously I'm a little bit of a public transport fanatic, is that there are no school buses where I live in Durham. Normally, I'm in Liverpool now, but when I'm in Durham, there's no school bus. There's no yellow bus driven by Otto that goes door to door and picks up the kids and takes them to the school. And I don't understand why there isn't. It's safer. It's greener. It's just better for everyone. And one of my stepdaughters, she goes to a local school where she has to get the bus. She has to get 2 buses actually into school each day, which is what I had to do in Liverpool, in the 90s, getting to school. I had to take 2 buses. So she has to get up at 6:30 in the morning. And anyone who's got teenagers will let you know that, like, trying to force kids up at that, well, especially teenagers up at that time, is just, it's painful, and it's bad for their health. It's been seen by studies to show that it's not great. It's not great. Our school bus was mental, lol. The issue with Uxbridge, it was ULEZ. Yes, the Tories created it, but people will see that Labour wanted to expand it. So what I'm going to say is I want ULEZ, but I want there to be alternatives so that you don't have to rely on your car. You don't have to. And then obviously exceptions for people who don't have the money. I just simply do not have the money. I think that is a punitive tax. I don't care about people who are driving around in expensive SUVs or those Chelsea tractors, whatever. Make them pay, fine. I don't care about that. But what I do care about a lot is the fact that there are many people on the lower end of the socioeconomic scale who aren't doing well right now. I'm in a cost of living crisis, and there's a couple of things that Labour could do to appease it, to ease people in more into the system, but there is talk of just having a hold off on it until the cost of living crisis that we're suffering from at the moment is over. And it's a good argument, you know. I mean, you've got to balance these things. You've got to balance the needs of the people who you're looking after in any given constituency. Interestingly, the Labour candidate actually spoke out against the ULEZ expansion. So just explain it for anyone living in another country who doesn't know what the hell I'm talking about with ULEZ, thinks I'm talking about lesbians or something. No, ULEZ is the ultra low emission zone. Now, at the moment, it comprises central London. So there's a north circular and there's a south circular, basically ring road around London, an inner ring road around London. With this expansion, the ULEZ, the ultra low emission zone, is going to expand all the way to the M25 motorway, which circles London on a much greater thing. It encompasses all the boroughs of London. How many boroughs of them is in London? Is 26 or something? 32? I don't know. There's lots of boroughs in London, and this is going to encompass a lot of the ones on the outside. Like I say, they do have good public transport links, but there are times when you can't use public transport. Tradespeople, for example, you're not going to get on the train with your ladders. You're just not. Darian says Sadiq Khan was forced to increase the ULEZ zone by Grant Shapps. Khan didn't want to extend it, but Shapps said TfL would be allowed to go bankrupt if he didn't. That's really interesting, Darian. I didn't know that. It's bad news for Uxbridge, but it was a bit of a local issue. The best takeaway for was the massive swing to tactical voting. Lib Dems and Labour lost their deposits by a lot. Yeah, in each other's in the constituency that they were each going for. There's obviously a gentleman's agreement. There is an agreement somewhere, gentlewoman's agreement. I don't know. They've said, look, the same thing that we did in 1997. Or they did in 1997. I have nothing to do with it. Same thing they did in 1997, which was to a non-aggression pact. And this is the best way forward. There's also a problem. I was going to mention two things about why Labour and Lib Dems can't really team up. Is that they in the Labour constitution, it says they have to field a candidate in every single English, Scottish, and Welsh constituency. It's in the constitution. What are you going to do? We could maybe change that at conference with a big vote, but I don't know if there's any appetite for that. I'm seeing some super chats coming in, but I'm not actually. Oh, there you go. One Angry Pagan. Lucky in Devon, we have Exeter and Plymouth. Labour strongholds mostly. Mercer and Plymouth. There. Hoping the rest of the Shire will at least turn yellow at the general election. Yeah, I was watching the BBC last night at 4 o'clock in the morning when the results came in. The final result came in for Salisbury and Selby. And Johnny Reynolds was there with Johnny Mercer on the telly, Johnny Mercer was just talking absolute gong. He sounds a bit drunk. I don't know because it was 4 o'clock in the morning. Maybe he was a bit tired or something, but he did not sound like a pub bore. I think I've got another super chat somewhere that I've missed, and sorry for that. Thanks very much for the super chat there, One Angry Pagan, and I'm going to try and find out where the other one was. There you go, Sam. Seeing George Osborne's tweet on winning Uxbridge. So this is George Osborne, basically the Gideon, his real name is Gideon Osborne, the guy who's just got married, and someone sent a poison pen letter just before he got married, accusing him of all kinds of nefarious deeds, and then he had orange confetti thrown on at his wedding. God, it's awful. Poor man. I don't know how he'll ever recover. This is a guy who was Chancellor of Exchequer between 2010, 2015, 16, and he was the architect of the big architect, the big pusher of austerity, which has killed over 200,000 people in the UK. Yeah, nice guy. Anyway, so he was saying, "Oh yeah, this means that the Tories can win. The Tories can't win. The Tories can't win." I mean, the worst case scenario for Labour at the moment is a hung parliament. I don't even think that's going to happen. I think that they're going to work together in order to ensure a non-aggression pact in certain constituencies, so they campaign like hell in their given constituencies, and they just don't give any money to places that don't, and they tell the candidate, you're a paper candidate, we're not going to give you loads of funding or whatever. And look, at the end of the day, it was only 500 votes in it for Uxbridge. There were 17 candidates, each one frittering away a few votes here and there, but mostly actually those votes would have come from Tory voters. So I don't really see it as a huge issue that the Greens stood there. and obviously the Lib Dems stood as well. I see it as an issue that if it hadn't been for the expansion of ULEZ, it's just bad timing. It comes in September, you see, end of summer, so it's just the perfect timing for people to say no, I don't want this, and I'm voting on a single issue is obviously something that people do in by-elections like this. But I suppose it is like looking at it. Was it 12,000 people voted for the Conservatives? And you've got to think about how like just awful the Tories are right now, and that there's 12,000 people who are like, oh, we're all right, we're doing okay. Yeah, they just can't see the carnage that the Tories are causing all around them. Starmer is failing in London. Obviously true now. Well, it lost by 500. I mean, this was a safe Tory seat pretty much. I know it was a marginal. They call it a marginal, but he's not, because this was based on ULEZ, and I've said it before. I don't know what Starmer's doing because I'm not part of his, advice team or whatever. But they are 20 points ahead in the polls. And this election win last night, youngest MP is going to be in Parliament now. He's only 25 years old. Young Kia. There's another Kia coming in. And Selby is Labour again. Yes, says Graham Argent, which it is, yeah. So I don't think that Labour got too much to worry about in London at the moment. I do think that given a year of the ULEZ scheme and trying to get it all sorted out so people get the support that they need, because they are trying to put schemes in, I think that we might, we might see a situation where Tories go down to the sort of 1997 levels of numbers of Tories, which was 150 odd. I mean, that is great. Please bring it on. Bring it on. ULEZ is needed now, not later. The planet is dying, so thinking to hold off till the economy is better is just not an option, says MadMonk33, who could have a very good point there. And also a big shout out and thank you to One Angry Pagan there with the £5 super chat. I met Mercer when I lived in Plymouth. I'm so sorry. The most arrogant twerp. I'm saying sorry about meeting Mercer, not living in Plymouth. A most arrogant twerp he seemed as I challenged him on the middle of the high street over Tory lies. Oh, well done for doing that. But also, yeah, he is an absolute twat. He came across really badly in the show last night. But what was really nice is that I was texting Johnny Reynolds as the results were coming in, and he was responding on. So obviously, when they went to someone else on the BBC, he was like texting me, and then he said, "Great results." I'm like, "Yeah, cool, man." So there you go. We have got some fingers in some pies. Come on, guys, tickle the like button. 75 likes. That's from Captain Bart Roberts. That's a £2 super chat there. Thank you very much. Yeah, we've got 513 people watching, and we've only got 95 thumbs up. So let's try and. Oh, it's got 101 now. Nature always wins. The planet isn't dying; it's responding, and if we die, so be it. Vendetta, yeah, that's a bit of a it's a bit of a fatalist argument. That look, it's not about the planet. The planet we know will survive us. It will survive for a good few billion years until the sun blows up or expands. The issue is, we're setting up a world in which there's going to be a lot of violence and a lot of hatred and a lot of suffering. And by saying, oh, well, it's too late, we can't do anything about it, it's wishing suffering on a lot of people, especially young kids who can't really fight back in the same way, and the elderly who can't fight back in the same way. And it's just not a nice future. And don't forget as well, it's not just us as a species that will be going extinct. It's all the other species out there as well, which fail to adapt to a world in which there's just a ridiculous amount of CO2. Well worth checking out, by the way, while I'm doing recommendations. There's a Chris Packham show from the Really Wild. Remember Chris Packham on the Really Wild show? I love Chris Packham. He wore a Carter the Unstoppable Sex Machine t-shirt just after Carter, the guys from Carter, Jim Bob and Fruit Bat, attacked Philip Schofield on stage at the Brits. I don't know if you remember this. It was in the early 90s. And his competition question that week was, why was Carter the best band at the Brits? So I've loved him ever since. And obviously now with the revelations about Philip Schofield, it's like, oh, they were ahead of their time, like 30 years ahead of their time. But Chris Packham's done a show for the BBC called Earth, planet Earth, Earth 2, Earth something. And yeah, it's just sort of like the history of the first one just deals with the Permian extinction, the biggest mass extinction in the history of the Earth, why it happened. And CO2 played a big part in it. You're watching it going, worth watching, really recommend it. Winning Uxbridge might make Tories complacent, which would be good for Labour. That's a really good point as well from Besroth there, because in the same way that Labour know now that they cannot be complacent, the Tories might be like, oh well, you know, we could squeak this. Or do you saying 102 likes game? We've got 165 now, so thanks to everyone who just dropped through in a like there. Andrew says, I'm in Somerton and Frome, a Lib Dem, and we asked Labour and Green to help get rid of the Tories. The swing was 28%. If there was a united opposition in Uxbridge, Lib Dems would have swung it with the Greens extra. Yeah, but they did swing it. They got it. They took the seat, and we live in a first past the post system. When we move to PR, hopefully in the next sort of 5-6 years, then we can have these discussions about, you know, who our preferences. Maybe we have preferential voting or something like that, so you can vote for number 1 for the Greens, for instance, and then number 2 for Lib Dems, number 3 for Labour, or vice versa. That's great, and preferential voting is what a model that I would like to move towards if we're going to do PR. I'd like to see like a hybrid model that actually works for the United Kingdom, because there's lots of different ways of doing democracy. There's lots of different ways of doing PR. Don't want a presidential democracy, for instance. Well, I don't want a presidential democracy where the president has power. I'm getting loads of messages. Sorry, I can't read all your messages. There's absolutely loads of them. Regarding Mercer, does anyone remember the time when Ian Hislop challenged him on Have I Got News for You, the proceeds of the Armed Forces charity he ran? Yes. And he got really shirty about it, didn't he? And he said, I'm going to apologise for defending veterans or something. He said, well, yeah, no, we're not talking about that. He tried to reframe the question. He tried to reframe the argument, which is a trick that Tories like to do. Chris Packham always gave me the creeps, says shit, but loved Terry Nutkins. So Terry Nutkins, the bald guy with a mullet, didn't give you the creeps, but Chris Packham did. All right. Oh God, the next election will be another Neil clinic falling flat in the sand. I don't think so, Andrew. I hope not. One Andrew Pagan. Sorry, mate. One angry pagan. Humans can adapt. Thank you for the £5 super chat. We need to relearn that tribalism doesn't necessarily mean conflict. It can also mean cooperation. That would be great. I'll be boarding ships and taking names. Did you see? Was it Calvin Vorderman's tweet yesterday? No, sorry, Marina Perkis's tweet about the cost of these prison ships that they want to put refugees on, and it's like more than the cost of hiring a literal cruise ship. For the same amount of time. So upset, the focus has moved from whether Nigel gets his elite bank account. Indeed. He got an apology, though. Labour, and I had some people, because I did a video on this yesterday, didn't I? And I had some people in the comments going, oh, you've been proved wrong. Well, actually, they've admitted that they didn't like his political views. No. They said they didn't like his political views. And then they said, so, as a result of the fact we don't like his political views, because we don't think it's good, you know, good luck for our bank, because he might have connections with Russia, and that's what it said. Might have connections. Nobody knows. He visited the Russian embassy a bunch of times in the run-up to the 2016 EU referendum. We know that. We know he did. He denied it, and then a photo came out with him with the ambassador of Russia, and also he visited the WikiLeaks guy, Julian Assange. He visited Julian Assange for some reason. Why did he do that? We don't know. But yeah, there's obviously something going on behind the scenes, and the bank isn't happy with it. But that's not the reason that they sacked him off. They sacked him off because he didn't have enough money in his account. And they said that he's got a mortgage coming up, and once he's paid that, he's not going to have enough money in his account. So we're not going to make we're not going to give him a special privilege. That was what they didn't give him. They just treated him like anybody else, any other millionaire, any other multi-millionaire. Doesn't Uxbridge show that some seats Labour can't win, even if currently second, as there is a ceiling? Maybe Lib Dem should have pushed in Uxbridge, not Labour. Well, Jeff, so I work with StopTheTories.vote, and they're very clever guys and girls, and they analyse each seat. And they don't just look at who comes second when they tell you who to tactically vote for. There's also the point of looking historically at the constituency and looking at recent polls in the constituency. it might be the case that although, say, the Lib Dems have come third in that constituency historically, they might be in a better place to convert Tory voters to vote for them. So even though you look at it and your first thing is, oh, well, Labour came second in that, yeah, but they've got all the Labour votes they're going to get in that constituency, whereas the Lib Dems could leapfrog Labour by taking the votes of the Tories. And don't forget, getting your own vote out is great, but it's one vote. If you take a vote from the Conservatives and put it onto the Lib Dems, or put it onto Labour, or put it onto the Greens or the SNP, you're winning 2 votes essentially, because you're depriving them of one and you're gaining one as well. So it's double the result. Results PR. Led by donkeys, garage, farage. I can't read the bottom of that because garage, farage. Fascist special. That's a bit of a tongue twister, actually. Maybe Britain should try our system where if no one gets over 50%, there's a runoff between the top 2 vote getters. That's Michael in Houston. Yeah, I mean, I was going to say about the presidential system, and I've spoken about this before on Labour Social. I really disagree with having I don't mind having an elected head of state. That's fine. But they shouldn't be a politician. They shouldn't have any political power. They should be a figurehead, like in Germany or in India, where they have presidents, but no one. Who's the president of Germany? Go on, quick, in the chat. First one to get it right wins a prize. No, you don't. But terms and conditions apply. There is no prize. That's the term. That's the condition. But yeah, they do have presidents, which are elected, and they just go around opening supermarkets and standing at the side of the river and a boat race and things to represent the country around the world. They don't have any political power. I like that. I don't like the fact that there is a lot of American model democracies around the world where a president is not just the head of state, but also the head of government, head of the armed services, head of the CIA, head of the FBI, head of the Department of Justice, head of the Coast Guard, head of Homeland Security, head of the nuclear bombs for some reason. I just too many hats for one little squishy human being to wear. I don't like that. And also, the rally round the flag effect of a president going to war encourages presidents, especially in the second term of office, when their legislation at home is being blocked by by the Congress, which often happens. They tend to turn to daft military adventures around the world because they feel that's going to show up their support because of the rally round the flag effect. Graham, pay attention to super chats. Thank you very much, Audrey. It just came up just then. Do you want me to stop talking off it? I did that to Phil the other day when he was talking, and I had to stop him and say, Phil, hang on, mate, I've got a super chat. And then I got criticism for interrupting, and I'm like, well, Alexis, thank you very much for the super chat there. I got a £1 super chat off Alexis, and there's a little heart. I'm trying to press. Can I press the heart? No, I can't press the heart. Thank you very much, Alexis. Have I got any more? I think that was it, wasn't it? Graham, are you answering super chat questions? Yes, I thought I was. I'm gonna scroll up. Sorry if you can hear this on your thing as I touch my screen. There's a lot of messages to scroll up. One angry pagan. I read that one out. This is fun, isn't it? I think I've read them all out, guys. I've been keeping an eye on it. Come on, but guys, tickle the like button. 75 likes. That was Captain Bart Robert, which is £2 super chat. I read that one. One angry pagan, £5. Met Mercer, read that one. Oh wow, okay. I think I'm ruining my show here. I'm ruining my own show. Look, if I've missed anyone, just let me know in the chat who I've missed. You said someone you were going to answer them. You missed another. Okay, Audrey, can you let me know who I've missed? Because I can't just sit here scrolling because it's going to be really boring for the people watching. I've heard you call all the super chats so far, and I've been watching. Yeah, I thought I had Admiral. Sorry, this is why I need a producer. It's a lot easier when I'm producing and Phil is actually doing the show. It's just like so much easier. Although yesterday it was a bit embarrassing because he'd been speaking for about 3 or 4 minutes before I went, Phil. Okay, but he's like, well, you're not on. You're sorry, mate. He just has to start again. And he's just like, wasn't my fault. Glad Lawrence Fox got very few votes. Everyone knows Amelia is the talented and probably sane one. Potato Face says, I'm off work today because the kids have a dentist appointment. That would be 3 bus journeys away. So 6 in total, not workable. Exactly. So going back to the public transport thing, and this is really important, talking about you, Les, talking about, the effect on people. If you can't afford a decent car and a new car that complies with ULEZ standards, then you are paying £12 a day, which is just absolutely untenable for people who are already feeling the pinch of climate of the cost of living crisis. I'm not saying that they shouldn't do it necessarily. I think it is a good idea to do this, but it has to come with a raft of policies around school buses is a big one. School buses, get rid of the school one. It's ridiculous that people are driving their Chelsea tractors to school 10 minutes down the road when there could be a bus that picks the kids up from their homes and takes them to the school. There's no reason not to do that. And I've said this before about public transport. But the thing about public transport is it never costs anything, because the benefit you get from public transport being cheap and effective, or even free, far outweighs the economic benefits, far outweighs the cost of any public transport scheme that you care to put into motion, with the possible exception of HS2. But yes, Chelsea tractors, is that how you call SUVs? Yeah, there's big giant cars that take up the entire road. Hunt doesn't understand inflation. James, Tories should be considered a legal party and removed from Westminster. I don't know if that's how it works. Number 3 says, my car insurance jumped from 130 quid, that was cheap, to 580. Oh my God. The initial quote was for 900. Now, that's Richard there, number 3. He's a little bit older than us, and the young people trying to get like on the road now, their insurances are way over £1,000 for the year. Way over. I mean, some of it's like, I've heard quotes of like £2,000, £3,000. I know the dad is a famous actor, but know nothing about him. Is this Loser Fox? He's a mediocrity who knows that he's not very good at acting. The only reason why he got some acting gigs in the first place is he went to a posh school, obviously. And yeah, he's just decided to. He was invited on Question Time for some idiotic reason. He went off on one about how he hates everyone who's not straight, white, male, twice divorced. Is he twice divorced? I don't know. I know that he rarely sees his children. Oh wow, £10 super chat. Thank you very much. One angry pagan. This is why I advocate for elected monarchy. We English as a whole seem to want one. It's not part of our culture. The Normans changed us to a primogeniture style of monarchy. I don't know what that means, but yes, yeah, I'm up for an elected monarchy. That sounds fun. You become the king or the queen for a little bit. Yeah, bring it. I mean, it means changing all the passports and the stamps and the money every 5 years, but you have to do that anyway. Cars is just a American dream of selfishness. That's from Davy Crockett. You're not wrong, mate. I mean, the fact that so many of our cities are built around the needs of cars, something that I've spoken about a lot on my YouTube channel over the years, is that we don't design cities for humans. We design them for cars, and that's got to stop. We've got to stop thinking of like the first thing we do when we build a building is not, can we make this beautiful? Not, can we make this aesthetically pleasing? Not, can we make this as green and as healthy as possible? Not, can we make this part of the landscape and really fit in with what's around it? No, it's where do the cars go? It's the first question there. Where are the cars going to go? Where we're going to put the cars? And you look at the way a football stadium in America, you've got the stadium, and then you've got like for a square mile all around it, probably more than that actually. You've got several square miles, I'd say. You've got parking, and it's just this dead wasteland, concrete just slapped on the face of the earth, which is not good for anything, especially not for the greenhouse effect. Not my king. We do not need a monarchy. Graham, what's your T-shirt? It's a Death Star. It's a Death Star, but it's a Pokeball. I'm on my way to the Blue Dot Festival, so I got the nerdiest possible T-shirt possible. Hopefully, I'm going to meet up with Terry Christian. We might do a show later. I don't know. We'll have to see if I can get coverage last year, because there's a big radio telescope at Dodgell Bank where it's held. I think it's like a bit of a mobile phone black spot or something, and last time I was there, phone didn't work all weekend, and it's going to be really muddy. So I've got me I've got me wellies on, but yeah. Love to the family. I think I'm the only Scouser who doesn't mind having a monarchy. That's from Liam. Probably elected monarchy will end up with King Andrew. No, we wouldn't, because he's not very popular. But you know what? If he ended up with King Farage, who cares? He wouldn't have any actual political power. So yeah, yes, make me king. You should definitely do that. Oh my God, do you have your own channel? Not anymore. This channel here, this Labour social channel, used to be my Graham Hughes channel. So the first few thousand subscribers that we got on this channel were from there. So we cheated it a little bit. So we raced ahead to 32,000 a lot faster than we otherwise would have done. But still, what we've managed to do with the channel between me and Phil and others over the last 3 months has been phenomenal. And it's all down to you, because you're the people who've been watching and tuning in each day, each week, and enjoying our content and giving us good suggestions of what we can do in the future. So thank you for getting us this far. There's going to be no agenda today, because obviously I'm going to be in a muddy field somewhere in Cheshire. But if I can, I will go live from there, and I might do a couple of episodes over the weekend if I can get internet. If I can't, Monday morning, 9:30, I'll be back with you. I'll be back in Liverpool to talk about what's happened in politics over the weekend. And maybe we could slag off the Tories a little bit. But look, I'm going to end now. So just before I go, I just want to say that I think that this election result actually, when I woke up last night, because I set my alarm for 3:30, and it was before the Selby results came in. I had to wait for that. But it was when the Uxbridge results had already come in. And also the Somerton and Frome had come in. Now, Somerton and Frome, I was like, yes, good. You know, I'm not Lib Dem, but Tories out, good. And then, you know, obviously the Uxbridge, I looked at the breakdown, and it was painful because it was only 500 votes in it. But having slept on it, I do kind of think actually that's kind of a good result in the long run. And hopefully the poor people of Uxbridge only have to put up with having a Tory MP for about another year or so before they get yeeted into the sea. I'm in a hotel. No, I'm in me in-laws. I'm in me in-laws upstairs. They're all having breakfast or something. But there you go. Okay. So my shield your backs, guys. Thank you very much, One Angry Pagan. That's really nice. And read the comment from the guy saying about the super chat question again, Graham. Oh my God. Okay. Where's this? Bye, Graham. Okay. You promised to answer super chat questions. Are you going to? What's the super chat question? Can someone just write the super chat question in the bottom? I'll just wait. I've really got to go. Super chat question that I missed, please. Can someone just put it into the chat? I can see it on my screen here. Actress famous in the 70s and 80s. Yeah. Lol, Graham, the guy said it 3 times. Oh, for God's sake. I'm on my phone. I can only see 3 messages at a moment, okay? And I've just scrolled all the way up while people were watching for like, I don't know, about 3 minutes. And I couldn't find the question. Could you just tell me the question? Admiral saying I haven't. Said, too funny. Oh, okay. It's just winding me up. Very good. Right. Anyway, I'll see you hopefully later, maybe over the weekend, and definitely on Monday morning at 9:30 for another. You can help clicking the like button and free the spread content. Yes, like on the way out. Thank you, Neil. I think he's just winding me up, mate. I think it's just a joke. Enjoying your rambling. I've got my girlfriend knocking on the door going, can we get going? Yeah, Graham can't be complacent. Sorry, Graham can't be complacent. Labour can't be. I can't be complacent either. But there you go. Right, guys. Thank you very much. Love you all. And yeah, hopefully see you soon. Until then, I'll say hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.